6.
Okay. Good evening. I'm going to call this Teaching and Learning Committee meeting on August 5th, 2025 to order at 5:36. Item 2, roll call. Tracy Pollock.
Here.
Jeff Boyer.
Here.
Okay. Item number 3, agenda revisions and approval.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Tracy with the motion, Jeff with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And none. That motion carries. Item number 4, approval of the June 9th, 2025 committee minutes.
Motion to approve the June 9th, 2025 committee minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Jeff, a second by Tracy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And none. And motion carries. Item 5, reports and updates. We have none. Unfinished business. We have none. New business. We have Jake Miziak here to update curriculum review timeline for us. Welcome, Jake.
Thank you. Tonight I bring up very small updates to what we had previously approved last year. So you're familiar with the curriculum review process. This is the same process that I've used for the last 3 years, and it includes 4 phases that are flexible. So the curriculum review process is identical to what I've been using for the last 3 years. The minor change that we're making is in the curriculum review timeline, which was approved by Teaching and Learning and the board last year. So the adjustment that I made is there's 2 departments that are being pushed forward in the review process, partly because they were out of alignment with what we had been doing previously. So ELA has gone through a review at the K-8 level, and that's why we're adding English 9-12 to this year entering a review. And the same thing with mathematics. We had a 6-8 review with a pretty stable elementary resource and curriculum. So Bridges we use at the elementary level. We approved a 6-8 curriculum, but at 9-12 we really haven't made an adjustment there. With the professional development that teachers engaged in last year, part of that process was identifying standards and looking for trends within their current scope and sequence for when concepts are and skills are developed in classes, and both at the 9-12 English department and the 9-12 mathematics department, they noticed things that both kind of prompted this review. English is looking to add a course that would be 9th or 11th grade English, which would be different than our current offerings, which are 2 electives. And this would help us with our coverage of the standards that are expected 11-12. And in mathematics, there are some scope and sequence pieces, primarily with algebra, but we would take a look at the full sequence of standards in 9-12. So those departments just would be pushed forward from where we had the previous timeline. Any questions?
Motion first for the discussion.
Want to take a motion?
Motion with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the updated curriculum review timeline.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Tracy and a second by Jeff. All right, any discussion? It was so quick, we weren't all ready for it.
I think the reasoning behind those couple of changes makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
Do we see the work around English 9-12 as being as intense as it was for the last go around?
No, but that's part of it is once you start digging in, you learn new things. I think the English department, and this is one of the benefits to that professional development that they engaged in last year. This was something that was self-identified by the department. So the department recognized that there was a gap that sort of occurred at that 11th grade level, that the addition of a 11th grade English class, similar to what we have 9th grade English, 10th grade English, and then 11th grade would help us with achieving what we have identified as priority standards for students, making sure that they have exposure to those standards and master those standards before they enter electives, which would be in their 12th grade year. So with this, what you're going to see is you're going to see an updated UBD for English 11, so that you'd see what standards were being covered there, and then we'd also provide an updated scope and sequence for what a high school student's ELA pathway would look like in high school. Sometimes once you engage in that work, you see some trickle-down effect, and there's impact at the other courses. So at this point in time, I wouldn't anticipate that you're going to see the level of intensity that you saw at the K-8, especially because we were considering a completely new resource for K-5 literacy, and there was the Act 20 piece of that. But I don't anticipate at this point in time either one of those reviews are going to be quite as intense as what you saw with ELA at the elementary level.
Is there something specific that they had seen that the gap was that they can really hone in on? Obviously, there's gonna be the trickle down.
Yeah.
But you said they self-identified that we're already kind of missing.
There's a piece of what happens with the fact that we offer electives in 11th grade and then 12th grade, and part of that would be the exposure to the standards that they have. So the ELA standards are there's 4 major branches to them. There are ones that are specifically around writing, and then there's the ones that are around reading. And if you sequence your courses correctly in 11th and 12th grade, you could potentially miss one of those major branches. So you could focus on 2 electives that are composition based and miss the reading standards, or likewise focus on 2 classes that are heavy in reading and miss some of the writing standards. So part of this is to make sure that we have an integration of the standards as they're intended to be.
So the plan then would most likely be to get rid of the 2 electives and then make it as 11th grade course?
We may not be eliminating those electives because they could still take those as 12th graders. So part of
Right.
it would be looking at that there could be some redundancy that's created with that. So there may be courses that we would propose that would be eliminated from the course guidebook based on what that 11th grade class looks like. But the starting point is to take a look at what that 11th grade class could look like.
I think some of the stuff we hear is specific in the English is they run out of options if they're choosing not to participate in a certain elective, and then it leaves it, well, I wanted something, but now my options are basically less than what I had in 11th grade, right? And I can take that, or I have to take one of these classes that I don't want to. So I think we need to really hone in on that scenario of ensuring we're not dead-ending students into an area of, well, you have an option whether you choose to take that option or not, right? I think there's a scenario there that plays out often, and I've heard that multiple times, and it always seems to be the 11th, 12th grade transition where they pursued a lot of the other options through 11th grade and then find themselves going, well, I have to take something, but the thing that I'm not going to opt into is the only option I have, which then is a non-option. It's an issue.
Yeah, I would anticipate that this would hopefully eliminate that, because that 11th grade class would then push those electives that the students are interested in 1 year later. And again, it would help us make sure that we ensure that all students are hitting the priority standards that they've identified.
Yeah, and be clear on it. I'm not saying we don't offer a round, good number of courses there. It's just a student, if they're aggressive in it, can find themselves at the end of it pretty quick. So, thank you.
I think the benefit then would be, and so through 11th grade, everybody would more or less see the same courses, and then on their last year, they'd be able to, if they're more interested in this over, whether it's writing or, speeches, however they'd be able to narrow it down to their interests versus doing that in 11th grade. That makes sense.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, with that, let's take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Not on
You, but you're really excited
We
about
love
it,
your
so that's good,
enthusiasm
that's
now.
good.
I'll see you in 2 weeks. Guess I'll
Okay,
vote.
with that motion passes, or carries. And we'll take one last motion.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, motion by Tracy, second by Jeff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned as of 5:45.